big news week, y'all. I swear there's a lot of news happening in a very short amount of time. And I want to touch on a lot of it, but it's going to have to be briefly if I want to get through everything. First is our lovely Green candidate party leader, Jill Stein. Oh, the poor lady has had a few major setbacks in her call for a recount. First stop in Michigan. The Michigan recount was halted by a federal judge for a variety of reasons, but the main one being that she wasn't considered an aggrieved candidate because she got less than 1% of the vote. So recounting the entire state of Michigan, it wasn't going to get her very far. For crying out loud, she came in behind Gary Johnson. She barely made a dent in Michigan, so a recount would be unnecessary because there is no way they would find enough votes to say, yeah, you know what, she has been an aggrieved candidate, so this, recount can go on, and especially at the taxpayer expense. So they called it off, and it ceased, it halted, and it's over, it's done with. And Trump has once again officially taken Michigan. Now, reliable sources have also stated that it was found in many counties that people were voting for Hillary multiple times. For Hillary Clinton, they were basically voting as many times as they could for the Democrats. Of course, they're saying that it's coming up to a glitch in the paper reader system, that reader feeder thing. And so it wasn't intentional. It wasn't voter fraud. It was a glitch. But there's a part of that Hillary won the popular vote thing, because it's already been found, according to reliable sources, in some counties, people were voting for her multiple times, and she still couldn't win, y'all. I mean, they're trying to say that she won the popular vote by millions and millions of people, but she couldn't even win Michigan with people voting for her multiple times. Oh boy. In Wisconsin, where the vote recount continues, Trump has actually gained ground, further solidifying his lead over Clinton in that state. Meaning, basically, when the recount is all said and done, it's going to prove that Trump is even more the winner of the state than he was when he was declared the winner of the state. Again, this millions and millions of votes lead, y'all, and she couldn't even win Wisconsin, and she couldn't win Michigan, even though people were voting for her multiple times in a few different counties. And yet we're supposed to believe that she's millions of votes ahead, legitimately, that these are legitimate votes that she won the popular vote by. And she couldn't even carry the two states that were give me states for the Democrats, even with proof that in one state, people were trying to vote for her multiple times in what was called a glitch. And she still couldn't win. But we're supposed to believe that she has a legitimate popular vote lead in the millions over Trump. So anyway, I digress. As for Pennsylvania, today, which is Friday, the 9th of December. I was looking at the month rather than the day. It is the 9th of December, 2016. And there was a hearing about whether or not they were going to do a recount at the taxpayer expense. People need to be very clear that she is not using very much of the donations that she received for the recount, that a lot of it falls to the taxpayers in some states. In Michigan, it would have been in excess of $12 million to taxpayers. So the federal court actually did a very good thing for Michigan taxpayers to halt that recount. But they haven't made a decision. The judge that heard the case today said that on Monday, December 12th, they will come down with a decision as to whether or not Pennsylvania will go forward with a recount effort. However, at this point, it seems mute. I mean, I don't know why they're going to waste their time and the taxpayer money, because for Clinton to have been called the actual victor of the election, all three states would have had to have flipped into Clinton territory. And we already know that she lost Michigan for sure. She lost Wisconsin for sure because, again, Trump is actually increasing his lead in Wisconsin. He is actually winning by more than he previously was called the winner with. So we know that she already lost those 2 states. So it really is kind of pointless to go through with a recount in Pennsylvania, because in order for her to have won, she would have had to have taken all 3 states in the recount. And we know that is not going to happen. And we know it's not going to happen in Pennsylvania either. I mean, if they couldn't do it in Michigan, where people were voting for her multiple times in multiple counties, how are they expecting her to flip the script in Pennsylvania? So sayonara, Jill Stein. I mean, look, she did this for one reason and one reason alone, and we all know it. It was to get exposure and money for her next big run. She had zero publicity this entire election. Even What's Aleppo, Gary Johnson, did better at getting on the news and bringing in donations. This was a concerted effort by Jill Stein to defraud the people of their money for her own personal campaign, much of which, actually didn't come from people she claims to be so concerned about. While she's not releasing her donor list, it is rumored that she has been funded for this recount effort mostly by Clinton bigwigs like George Soros, rather than the angry voters she tries claiming donated to her recount efforts. Also in the news, the term fake news is constantly being thrown around as the cause of Trump's victory. One of the most recent touters of the term fake news and accusing the fake news of helping Trump win is Mr. Brian Williams. The guy who claimed to have been in a helicopter that was hit by an RPG, but the guys in the military said, no. I saw a guy commit suicide during Hurricane Katrina, but then it actually came out that he heard of a guy committing suicide in Hurricane Katrina, and nobody really knows if the guy actually committed suicide. Nobody knows if that actually happened. So first he said he heard about it, then he said he actually physically saw it happen. This is the same guy who claimed that he was there when the Berlin Wall came down, even though he actually arrived a day later. The guy who claimed that he met the Pope and flew into Baghdad with SEAL Team 6, both of which turned out to be fake. This guy is blaming fake news for Trump's win. This guy was fired for fake news. And he's the one throwing around the accusations. By the way, this guy now sits in the ratings wasteland of MSNBC, which, as we all know, is a bastion of reliability and trustworthiness. And that's sarcasm for y'all who might not be able to hear it in my voice. Another thing the left is still complaining about is Russia's interference with the election, which as of yet they have failed to show the American people solid evidence of such involvement on Putin's end. They have their accusations. They keep claiming that they have reliable proof, but they have never shown it. They will not say what that proof is, but they keep saying, because of Putin, that's why we lost. And, God love Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson took over Greta Van Susten's spot on Fox News after she left, and he is absolutely amazing, especially when it comes to bringing on millennials from college to discuss their point of views and then just ripping them apart with facts that they can't counter because they have no counter argument to the truth. And I swear, y'all, last night's guest, and this was Thursday, December 8th, I swear to God, I thought she was going to cry by the end of the segment. It was glorious. I mean, he kept hitting her with fact after fact after fact, and the only thing she could do was just repeat her argument over and over because she didn't know how to counter the facts that he was throwing at her because there was no counter argument. And so she just kept repeating herself over and over, and she just looked so stupid. I'm sorry, y'all. She looked dumb as hell. Okay, she just looked stupid, and you could see the tears welling in her eyes because she knew that he had her. I mean, she just knew it because all she could do was just say the same thing over and over because she didn't have the proper knowledge of the situation that Tucker Carlson actually had. He went out and he educated himself on the topics he wanted to discuss, and she didn't. And it was so evident, and God love Tucker Carlson, I swear. If you haven't seen him, definitely watch him. It was wonderful. But last night he had a guest, or I should say tonight, the 9th, he had a guest on who was discussing all the things about Russia, and I say Russia with air quotes, and all the things that they did to influence the election. And she cited, though this was somebody who is on the side of the Democrats, and is trying to prove that Russia's interference actually helped the Democrats lose the election. And this is what she cited. She cited releasing proof of what the Democrat Party did to Bernie Sanders, the proof of racism in the Democrat Party, like how they were calling people taco bowls and how they called Bernie Sanders supporters basement dwellers. She talked about the Podesta emails that were anti-Catholic and talked about the spirit cooking ritual crap. I still don't understand that, but whatever. And Tucker Carlson's looking at her with a big smile on his face, and he said, well, isn't that all true? I mean, isn't this stuff like what there was inaccurate? What there was, false? I mean, it wasn't everything true? And she's like, well, yeah, but it was interfering in an election. Yeah, but. Okay, yeah, but it was all true, honey. Is releasing the truth to the American people so they really know who they're supporting or fighting against truly interference? I mean, really, is letting the people know the truth actually stepping over the bounds when it comes to involvement in the political process? I mean, shouldn't the truth be something that our politicians are upfront about from the beginning? Did we really need to come to hacking for the American people to learn this stuff? Yeah, but my behind. I'm sorry, let's say Russia actually did hack the emails and give them to WikiLeaks to release. Let's say that was true. Let's say for argument's sake it was true. The point is, those emails were legitimate. Those emails were things that the American people deserved to know if they wanted to make an educated choice about who was going to be running our country. Do we really want enemies with Russia? Do we really want to be enemies with them? I mean, seriously, they are decades ahead of us in weaponry and the nuclear program. Do we really want them as our enemies? I mean, I'm not saying Putin is this wonderful, honest, straightforward leader. I'll tell you right now, I'm not a political person. I don't know Putin very much because I'm more concerned about what's going on in my country and how it's going to affect me and the people that I care about. So I really don't know Putin that well. But I do know that they are way far advanced than we are. And they could kick our collective asses. So do we really want to make an enemy of them as Obama and Clinton were constantly trying to do? And really, how bad is it if he is telling us the truth about the people who want to lead our country? This weird spirit cooking ritual crap and calling the American people taco bowls, super predators, basement dwellers, deplorables. Actually going and trying to not only get Bernie Sanders washed off the ticket, even though that's who the people on their side truly, honestly wanted, but then they bought him off with a $600,000 vacation home in order to have him endorse Clinton. I mean, it's shady stuff, and they're acting like this was so horrible of Russia to let us know. And like I said, I'm saying Russia with air quotes because I have not seen any evidence that Russia had any involvement whatsoever. But who the hell cares if they did? This is stuff the American people should know. Do we really want to put a person who thinks that Mexicans are taco bowls, blacks are super predators, Trump supporters are deplorables, who has involvement with people that believe in the satanic ass looking spirit cooking thing and consider that art, and surrounds himself with people who actually made a concerted effort to commit widespread voter registration fraud, the whole point of which is to commit voter fraud? Is that the kind of person that we want to put in office? Is that the person that we know is going to protect our interests from other countries, such as Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan and all the safe places for ISIS? And of course, Russia, who is far more advanced in the nuclear program than we are. Is that the person that we want running our country? So whoever hacked the emails and exposed the truth, thank you. We should be thanking them, not condemning them for ruining their chances at winning the election. I mean, my God, if election manipulation is considered anything that falls in the line of telling the American people the truth, then I'm all for it. I am all for the American people knowing what the hell is going on with the politicians who are trying to run our country. Yeah, but like I said, if you haven't heard Tucker Carlson before, his show is now on Greta Van Susteren's spot on Fox News at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central on the weekdays, Monday through Friday. And he's, like I said, he's awesome. Now, that's not to say that so far everything has been all rosy with Trump as a supporter of Trump. Today, Rudy Giuliani removed his name from being in the running for any position in Trump's cabinet. Now, he cites that there are plenty of great options being tossed around, making it unnecessary for him to be in the mix. But I personally believe the truth is that Trump sat on his hands too long and started entertaining a bunch of asshats like Mitt Romney and Al Gore for Giuliani's comfort. I think he just said, you know what, it's taking too long. And now he's entertaining these guys who are absolutely counter of everything we defended him for. And I think I'm just going to take my name out of it. That's what I truly believe. I truly believe that when he started touting around people like Leonardo DiCaprio and inviting Al Gore and nominating or like talking about the nomination of people like Mitt Romney, then Giuliani said, yeah, okay, I'm going to step away. I truly believe that's what it was for. And I believe Giuliani should have been the first pick, because not only do I believe he is extremely qualified to sit on the cabinet at any level, so he really should have been considered heavily and should have been one of the first people appointed. But it is what it is. And, a lot of people can defend a pick like Romney. I mean, Romney hasn't been picked yet, but a lot of people could defend it. I personally can't. I mean, this is a man who is too weak to bring a real fight to Obama during the 2012 elections, causing him to lose to Obama. Yet he's willing to set out and destroy the nominee of his own party. He even helped put this dude nobody knows of, this bald-headed guy in Utah, to act as a spoiler to stop Trump. He was the head of the Never Trump Committee. Exactly how is that going to work if he gets a top position? A president needs to surround himself with qualified people, yes. Qualified is very important, but they should also be loyal. Romney is not a loyal person. And qualifications, they can be debated. Now, that's not to say that Trump, who isn't even president yet, isn't off to a great start. I mean, I don't agree with everything in his selection process, but his nomination of James Mad Dog Mattis is a fantastic choice. And really, the educated people, I should say, really can't complain about it. I know people on the left try and have been complaining about everything that Trump's done, but he is very qualified, and he's just, I think he's going to be a very strong leader in the position that he was placed in as Secretary of Defense. He's also nominated Ben Carson as HUD Secretary. And of course, ass-butts are complaining that he's underqualified, unqualified, and they're laughing at Carson and basically treating him the way that would have had people screaming racism if it were coming from the opposite party. If Republicans were treating him the way the Democrats are treating him, we all would be racist. But to me, there's really no one more qualified for HUD Secretary. Dr. Carson came from poverty as a child. He worked hard. He got an education. He beat the odds, became the top children's neurosurgeon, a candidate for president, and is now HUD Secretary. And anyone who besmirches him for his accomplishments, are they going to call themselves racist the same way they accused everyone who questioned Obama's accomplishments for being? And trust me, Dr. Carson's accomplishments actually add up to a hell of a lot more than Obama's. And Trump has also done a few other great things in the few short months that he's been president-elect. He's done more as president-elect than Obama has done his entire presidency. He saved jobs in Kentucky by keeping Ford from taking their plant and moving it to Mexico. He stopped Carrier from pink slipping thousands of workers before the holidays so they could hightail it to Mexico. There are families, thousands of people who are now no longer worried what's going to happen to them and their families after Christmas. Now their jobs are saved. Trump was also able to negotiate with Masa of SoftBank from Japan to invest over $50 billion here in America, which is going to create 50,000 new jobs. And Masa stated that if Clinton had won, this wouldn't even be on his radar. He's only doing this because Trump won and he and Trump were able to negotiate, and it's going to benefit America. So saving a Ford plant's jobs, saving Carrier workers' jobs, and negotiating a plan that's going to create 50,000 jobs from a Japanese corporation here in America instead of American corporations going to Japan. I mean, seriously, what has Obama done? In one of his final speeches, he blamed Bush, he blamed Trump, and he blamed racism. Like the millennials who need a participation trophy for waking up in the morning and someone to blame for all their self-imposed problems, Obama has no personal accountability for anything that has happened in his 2 terms. He even tried to claim that ISIS was not on his intelligence radar, and that's how they got out of control. Now cut to a video of Bush in 2007 where he warned that pulling out of the Middle East, as Obama promised he would do before the job was finished, would destabilize the country and counter everything that they had worked on over there, which would open the door for groups, like ISIS. There are former advisors who even stated, wait, this was on our radar. There is video and audio of him being briefed on this stuff. I mean, he was briefed on this stuff. Come on, guys. So yeah, anyway, that's it for today. I have a bit of a chest cold coming on. You gotta love winter. So I'm calling it an early show for once. Go back and watch my previous shows. Pretty much every show touches on the Electoral College and why we have it, and why Clinton's popular vote lead is a bunch of BS. But each show also talks about different points as well. Like one show kind of talks about the people that will be running our country in a few years if we're not careful. But warning, none of these shows are a safe space. So until next time. Okay, so today is December 10th of 2016, and it's a day after I finished the previous audio, but I had kind of a by-the-by I wanted to talk about before I closed out the video. I want to touch on a few more millennial examples of why we should be glad we have the Electoral College rather than the popular vote. Besides the popular vote system being easily manipulated through voter fraud, as I've explained in the previous videos, and also touched about a little bit in this one, where we found that multiple people were voting multiple times in different counties for Hillary Clinton. So even though she still lost the state, believe it or not, before the recount was closed, it is said that they found evidence that especially in Wayne County, I think it was, people were voting multiple times for Hillary Clinton. Of course, they're not calling that voter fraud. They're calling that a glitch in the system. So, but like I said, even though let's say it was a glitch in the system, those multiple votes still counted for Hillary Clinton. So the popular vote that she has, for many reasons, again, that aside, go back and listen to the previous videos and learn about all the ways that her supposed lead is not as great as people think it is. So the system is actually very easily manipulated, and the popular vote may not be as reliable as people truly think it is. But I also want to talk a little bit about the people that are in this alleged majority and why we should worry about them wanting to run our country. I mean, if you look at California and New York, the 2 most populous states that lean the same way ideologically, if we went based on popular vote alone, they would be calling the shots for little states like Utah, which is pretty much all Republican, and North Dakota and South Dakota, which are pretty much all Republican. And you have to look at the type of people that are in those populous states. It's just like even if you look locally. Go to Illinois and look at the actual, how the votes went in Illinois. There was 112, I believe, different counties in Illinois. and only 7 went to the Democrats. Over 100 counties were Republican, but those 7 populous areas called the shots for the entire state. And one of those areas, the bastion of high education and safety and a wealthy area. There's no poverty. Nobody ever gets mad at anybody. There's no black on black crime and black on white crime and gun violence. It's one of the most wonderful areas in our entire country, Chicago. And of course, I said all that other stuff with sarcasm in case nobody heard it in my voice. But Chicago basically called the entire state. That they were the ones who said, we're voting for Clinton, probably multiple times, like in Michigan. And they called the shots for the entire state. So over 100 counties who said, no, we don't think this is a good idea. That one area said, yeah, we do. And let's look at the people who live in an area like Chicago, or the people who live in California, and the people who live in places like New York. Let's talk a little bit about the liberals and why we should be worried that they want to call the shots for all of America. We're going to look at one state that, this state is kind of a flip-flop state. This state sometimes goes to the Democrats, sometimes it goes to the Republicans. This year it went to the Republicans, but that doesn't mean that there aren't very liberalized people there, that they don't have a liberal ideology, especially in the colleges. Let's look at the Ohio State University, where there was a recent terrorist attack. The attacker, Abdul Razak, he plowed people down in his car before getting out and stabbing them with a machete. And now it has been found in subsequent investigations that he sympathized with terrorists. And he's been posting radicalized propaganda all over social media. ISIS even claimed he was a warrior for Islam and proudly took responsibility for the attack, saying that basically he was an arm of them. And now remember, this guy he's here legally, but he came to this country, I believe at the age of 17, as a Somali refugee. He was a Muslim refugee. And then he obtained legal citizen status. I don't know if he's a legal citizen or just legal immigrant status. I'm not sure how that worked. But basically, he was a radicalized person. Now, despite all this, a very liberal college professor at the very school where the attack occurred stated to somebody asking in an interview format that he couldn't say if this were terrorist related, and just because ISIS claimed responsibility didn't make it true. They say a lot of things, as he claims. And then when a student was asked, he claimed that the whole attack was a misunderstanding. Yeah, a guy plowing down a bunch of people, then getting out of his car and stabbing them with a machete in hopes of killing them in the name of Islam was a misunderstanding. And that doesn't even, let's look at Black Lives Matter. A representative for Black Lives Matter came on television and he condemned the white officer who killed the terrorist. They see the fact that a white officer killing a black terrorist was more of a crime than what the terrorist was trying to accomplish by plowing a bunch of people down and then stabbing them. Let that sink in. Okay, y'all need to let that sink in a little bit. These people want to put people with their ideology into our government to represent them. People who think like they do. They want people with their ideology. Well, yeah, the guy plowed a bunch of people down and stabbed them in the name of ISIS and radical Islam, and posted a bunch of radical stuff and posted a bunch of, things that sympathized with the terrorists. But we can't say that this was a terrorist attack. Their ideology. This guy plows down a bunch of people, gets out of his car, and continues to stab them. This guy who posted radicalized statements on social media, and this guy who, this guy who is a terrorist sympathizer. But it was just a misunderstanding. Their ideology. Well, the white officer was more in the wrong for killing the black terrorist who was trying to murder a whole bunch of people because he was white and the terrorist was black. Their ideology. These are the people that are trying to say that we should destroy the foundations that the founding fathers laid down for us so it would be easier for them to get their way. And you should be scared when you hear things like that. And of course, there are the ever so precious social justice warriors who recently rewrote the holiday song, Baby It's Cold Outside, to remove what they believe to be the rape culture propaganda from the original lyrics. Rape culture? Did they even listen to the lyrics? Even a child could tell it's two consenting adults, one playing the role of hard to get. I ought to say no, 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 sir. At least I can say that I tried. That's a woman being coy. She's not saying no means no. And as she says she's going to leave, suddenly she changes her mind and says, well, maybe just a half a drink more. And then she's going to go again, and then she's, well, maybe just a half a cigarette more. Because she really doesn't want to leave. She doesn't want to leave. That's the whole point of the song. They're playing coy. They're playing hard to get. It's just this fun little ditty. It's not rape culture. It's two consenting adults acting like children. Tee-hee, tee-hee. That's what the song's about. Just two grown adults saying, you know, it's cold outside. Tee-hee, maybe have a drink more. It's not rape culture. But the social justice warriors have to find something to champion when there is no cause. They just create one. Kind of like the whole just a half a cigarette more. That was removed in years past by the liberals because smoking is bad and we can't talk about smoking. So in subsequent releases by various different artists, the reference to, well, maybe a half a cigarette more was removed. So you see how they work. These are the people who are fighting to put politicians who represent their ideologies in charge of our country. Again, their ideologies. A terrorist attack was a misunderstanding. Their ideologies. A Christmas song that has been around for generations is rape culture. Their ideologies. A white police officer has no business killing a terrorist because he's black. Their ideologies. And if that doesn't scare you, you are part of the problem. So now, until next time, I will talk to you guys later.